Russian dictator Vladimir Putin uses psychological and neuro-linguistic methods developed by Russian special services to influence US President Donald Trump. As reported by Unian, this was stated in a comment to Kyiv 24 by Army General of Ukraine and former head of the Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine, Mykola Malomuzh. According to him, Kremlin representatives deliberately used Soviet-era techniques during negotiations with Trump, modeling his behavior and adjusting the decisions he makes. Malomuzh notes that, for this purpose, the psychological profile of the American leader is studied in order to successfully press on his sensitive points. The general explained using an example how this influence works.
After our influence, when Trump, at the UN General Assembly with Zelenskyy, swore to support Ukraine and said he would provide all types of weapons, even tomahawks. And then Putin spoke with Trump literally 2 days later, and he took Putin's side. This is the real influence of the intelligence services.
It is known that Russian intelligence agencies collected compromising material on Trump during his first presidential term, but did not use it. In 2017, CNN reported this, citing a former British intelligence officer. The information was presented in a document attached to the report on Russian interference in the US elections. And in November of this year, it became known that the scandalous American businessman Jeffrey Epstein was passing information about Donald Trump to the Russians. As Politico writes, according to newly published documents, this happened almost a month before Trump's meeting with Russian leader Vladimir Putin in Helsinki in 2018. At that time, Epstein passed a message to the Russian intelligence services. Quote, "If you want to understand Trump, talk to me." Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy may hold a meeting with American leader Donald Trump in the coming days. The head of state announced this on his Telegram channel. According to him, the head of the Ukrainian delegation in negotiations with the US, Rustem Umerov, has been in contact with the American side. As Zelenskyy stated,
"We are not wasting a single day. We have agreed on a meeting at the highest level with Trump in the near future. A lot could be decided before the new year."
According to media reports, the president of Ukraine may visit Trump's residence in Florida as early as December 28th, if everything goes according to plan. Earlier, Zelenskyy spoke about the phone conversation that took place on Christmas with the envoys of the US President Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. He noted that some documents have already been prepared and some are fully ready. Meanwhile, the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin continues to insist on the transfer of the entire Donbas to Russia. According to Russian media, at the pre-New Year meeting of the State Council of the Russian Federation, Putin discussed Russia's domestic issues. However, he paid special attention to the negotiation process with the US and Ukraine regarding the peace plan. It is noted that the main topic was territorial demands concerning the Donetsk region of Ukraine. The president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, has repeatedly emphasized that the Ukrainian army will not withdraw from the territory of the Donetsk region. According to him, a withdrawal of forces, if possible at all, can only be reciprocal. Let us recall that earlier Zelenskyy stated that the peace plan which Ukraine, the US and Russia have been discussing for the second month consists of 20 points. Zelenskyy called the territorial issue the most difficult of the 20 points.
In Russia, one of Shoigu's closest associates has died. We are talking about former Russian Deputy Defense Minister Yuri Sadovenko. He was directly involved in the criminal war against Ukraine and was a close associate of the former Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. According to the propaganda agency TASS, Sadovenko died on December 25th due to heart disease. He was 56 years old. He was born in Ukraine and graduated from the Ryazan Higher Airborne Command School. For his participation in the war against Ukraine in 2022, he was sanctioned by both the UK and the US. It has also become known that the Russian general who reported to Putin about the capture of Kupiansk disappeared after the Ukrainian armed forces counterattack. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said this on Friday, December 19th, in an interview with Polish journalists. Zelenskyy added that later there was information suggesting that this general had been found dead. The president did not name the general, but a video circulated online showing General Sergei Kuzovlev reporting to Putin about the complete capture of Kupiansk. Russian media claimed that after this report, Kuzovlev was awarded the title Hero of Russia. And on the morning of December 22nd in Moscow, a car belonging to Lieutenant General Fanil Sarvarov, head of the Operational Training Department of the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces, was blown up. It is reported that the explosion occurred at around 7 in the morning in the courtyard of a residential building on Yasenevo Street near the Domodedovskaya metro station. A homemade explosive device had been placed under the driver's seat of a white Kia Sorento SUV, and it detonated the moment Sarvarov got into the car. The general died in the hospital. 2 days later, on December 24th, police officers who had tortured Ukrainian prisoners were eliminated in Moscow. According to sources in the main intelligence directorate of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, at around 1 o'clock in the morning on Yeletskaya Street in Moscow, a local resident, as a sign of protest against the Kremlin's aggressive policies, eliminated 2 representatives of the Russian security agency. Approaching a police car parked near the police station, the man threw an explosive device through the car window. As a result, 2 Russian police officers died at the scene, and 2 more were hospitalized with serious injuries.
In 2025, Kazakhstan initiated 700 criminal cases against citizens of the country who joined the occupying army of the Russian Federation in the war against Ukraine. This was reported by the publication Media Zona, citing joint calculations with the project Farewell to Arms. It is noted that the courts hand down identical sentences both to Wagner PMC mercenaries and to those who signed contracts with the Russian Ministry of Defense. Law enforcement agencies state that from the perspective of Kazakhstan's criminal code, the mercenaries acted with criminal intent by participating in the Russian Federation's war against Ukraine. Media Zona writes that this is a record number of criminal cases. Previously, the number of such cases in Kazakhstan was limited to dozens per year. But in April and July of 2025, the situation changed, with the numbers increasing. According to calculations by Media Zona and the BBC Russian service, nearly 200 citizens of Kazakhstan and natives of the country have died in Russia's war against Ukraine. At the same time, journalists note that officially the authorities of Kazakhstan maintain a fairly neutral position regarding Russia's full-scale military invasion of Ukraine. It is known that the country's president, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, has publicly called for peace talks and stated his readiness to act as a mediator. The improvement of relations between the United States and Kazakhstan may also have played a role. In particular, US President Donald Trump invited Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan to participate in the G20 summit in Miami in December 2026. He announced this on December 23rd, after telephone talks with the leaders of Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. It is also known that Tokayev and Trump discussed Russia's war against Ukraine by phone on December 23rd. At that time, Tokayev emphasized the complexity of resolving the Ukrainian conflict, where the territorial issue plays a dominant role and requires compromises from both sides, taking into account the real situation on the ground according to media reports. Vladimir Putin has agreed for the first time to a ceasefire in order to hold a referendum on the territories. This was reported by Axios, citing sources. US President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy plan to meet on December 28th to try to finalize the American peace plan for the war in Ukraine. According to the article's authors, the meeting indicates a significant breakthrough in the negotiations. According to sources, the US and Ukraine have agreed on most elements of the future agreement. Washington is ready to submit to the Senate a security guarantees treaty for Ukraine, the text of which is based on Article 5 of the NATO Charter. If Russia invades Ukraine again, there will be a military response and sanctions will automatically be reinstated, Zelenskyy stated. The Ukrainian leader said that at the upcoming meeting with the US president, he will discuss security guarantees. According to him, the 20-point peace plan is 90% ready.
The agreement is almost ready. It is already on the table, and its signing will depend on how the meeting goes.
Speaking about Russia's refusal to consider the document, the president noted, of course, nothing will be signed without the Russian Federation. However, there is also a bilateral agreement between Ukraine and the United States. The president added, the first drafts of several documents have been prepared, and some issues, in particular security guarantees, can only be discussed at the level of the leaders. Also, according to the head of state, an economic agreement will be discussed, the directions of which still need to be coordinated.
The 20-point plan includes the issue of elections and a referendum. I believe that the fate of Ukraine should be decided by the people of Ukraine, and that is fair.
Zelenskyy stated, the initiative to raise the issue of elections came from the American side, both regarding the elections and the referendum. The main thing that needs to be discussed is security, and our partners have sufficient resources to ensure it. In particular, according to Ukrainian Member of Parliament David Arakamia, a hybrid voting model is being considered, both online and offline, as well as the possibility for Ukrainians abroad to vote over several days.
Russia is being hit by a snow apocalypse. More than 100 flights are delayed at Moscow airports due to a severe blizzard. According to Russian telegram channels, because of the bad weather, there are problems with departing flights at Vnukovo, Domodedovo, and Sheremetyevo. There have been no flight cancellations so far, but passengers have to wait until the runways can be cleared of snow and the aircraft undergo de-icing procedures. Earlier, a yellow level weather warning was issued in the capital of the aggressor country. According to meteorologists, the heavy snowfall with strong gusts of wind may last for several days, right up to the new year. Siberia is also being buried in snow. Yakutia is breaking temperature records. Minus 56 degrees Celsius has been recorded in the region. This is the lowest temperature on Earth right now. Residents of the village of Tixi are suffering from a powerful blizzard that has not let up for 3 days. Classes have been cancelled in schools, kindergartens are closed, snow is piling up against the front doors of houses, and people can't get out of their apartment blocks. Meteorologists predict that the temperature could drop to minus 60 degrees Celsius in the coming days. Coal is running out in Yakutia. 6 districts are at risk of being left without heat at minus 42 degrees Celsius. Local authorities are waiting for subsidies from the Ministry of Finance to restore heating. Residents of another region are freezing. Nearly 20,000 residents of Serov in the Sverdlovsk region have been left without heating as outdoor temperatures drop to minus 40 degrees. While the Kremlin regime continues to spend billions on the war against Ukraine, every winter turns into a survival quest in harsh conditions for Russians. With the onset of cold weather, the entire housing and utilities infrastructure in Russia, almost like clockwork, begins to fall apart at the seams, resulting in widespread accidents. As a result of the accident, 338 apartment buildings, home to about 17,000 people in Serov, were left without heating. In total, about 90,000 people live in Serov. Currently, only 2 out of 3 boilers at the heating plant are operational, which does not allow for normal heat supply to all areas of the city.